Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to the Harpin on Rugby preview show. Joining me to look ahead to Ireland's final warm-up match ahead of the Rugby World Cup is someone earning cap number 60. A warm welcome back to Mr. Neil Keego Keegan.
Wow, we really should have known better when we started this, but yeah, we're getting close. The World Cup is getting close, so yes, it's good to talk to you again.
Well, that's it. And just to say, to mark the occasion of your 60th cap, I did ask the barber to shave 60 in the back of my head, but sadly he misheard me, and let's just say he was off by about 9 digits. So since it's a family show, I won't show the result on screen if you don't mind. We'll just move on if that's okay.
I think save that for the imagination. I think, yeah.
That's it. Okay. So anyway, on your last appearance, we were previewing the England match. How do you think it went?
Yeah, I watched it again, knowing we were going to talk, because watching it live, I was blown away by how smooth everybody got. There was a couple of moments early on. Certainly, Prendergast found the level difference early on, and he caught up and did some really great work as the game went on. I thought obviously big moments for Keith Earls, and even when he came on, he was hungry. 157 years of age, as we say every week. Everyone in the whole nation was delighted for him. We might talk about him later on. I was happy. There's a couple of, like, obviously the line out was an issue. Obviously Sheehan is a little bit of a worry. Hopefully there's a bit of good news starting to float out from camp now. But considering that was the first time a lot of those guys were coming back for a long time, I thought it was good. I thought Gibson Park was good. Ross Byrne was good. The boot was a little bit off, but you know what I mean? The game is easy from the couch. I thought he ran the game well. I thought it was interesting when he shift to 12, Crowley jumped in at 10. I thought that was interesting as well, because that's another we've got, so if we have Crowley at 10, Byrne at 12, Ringrose and Henshaw still in the middle, hopefully, that's four kickers right in the middle of the field. Now we know Healy can take drop goals from the halfway line, blah blah blah, and James Lowe's boot as well. So it's interesting to see other threats popping up. I do think there's a lot more in the tank. We've been speaking about that before. We don't want to show the hand, but like, we were talking about the mental damage England did to us going into the last World Cup. They were never close to that. Never close to it. Part of that is their problems, but part of that is we didn't let them get near it. The red cards didn't affect the game, and it was the right call eventually, which is great. The worry we had about refs being whistle happy going in after the Farrell thing, I thought the ref dealt with it fairly well. Not too many whistles. The game moved, which helped us. But yeah, sorry, to answer your question, I was happy, even the second time.
Yeah, it's an interesting point about Crowley and Byrne, because I mean, we all say that there's this kind of general assumption that we would be screwed in the World Cup without Sexton. But one thing we've seen in these warm-up matches is that if he's not playing and we've got these two lads out there, they set up in such a way that you never know which one is going to be playing first receiver on any given play, and that kind of throws it. That throws the other team a little bit as well. It gives us a little bit more options. So that is one thing we've learned. So it's be interesting to see going forward.
And then, sorry, just one more thing. The thing that popped out: Aki got a lot more ball than usual, and he was showing some passing skills, like you're talking about. First receiver in the beginning of the Farrell years, he was jumping in there to let Sexton float out. Now we have an extra threat in there at first receiver, and the passing and everything out of Aki, he's a class player, and we know that. But he really was stepping up. It's almost like they said, Bundy, this is your time now. Get in there, show us what you can do. You're not just a battering ram; you've got skill in there too. So let's show it all off.
Absolutely, and he can throw that crucial final pass as well. Earls gave him a bit of slagging over it because it was a little bit high, but still, it was those final passes from all different players was great to see.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's time to harp on our feature match of the week, which, as you can see up there, is Ireland against Samoa in week 4 of the Summer Nation Series, also known as the World Cup warm-ups. The match takes place on Saturday, August the 26th, in Bayonne, kicking off at 7:45 p.m. Irish time, and can be seen on TV over on RTE2. Ireland announced their starting lineup at 2 p.m. on Thursday. You can see it there on the screen if you're watching on YouTube, or they're in the program notes if you're listening to the pod. Keego has picked out 3 headings he'd like to harp on, starting with the Irish midfield.
Yeah, it's interesting. We were talking about Henshaw missing last week. Henshaw coming back in this week with Stuart McCluskey, which is interesting because I don't know whether it was a legitimate worry we had or I had last week, but Henshaw looks to be fit, and Henshaw at 13 this week. So that obviously opens the door for McCluskey as part of that four. And if Earls goes, which we'll speak about, there's another midfield option in there with obviously Crowley as well. So we have a very, very packed midfield. And as I said, this is from the couch, so everything's easier. But the worry is we've an embarrassment of riches now in the midfield and in the back row as well. But the midfield, where you could pick one of 8 players, or 2 of 8 players, excuse me, depending on who we're going against. So it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how they work together, because there are times where they are quite similar in what they do, the jobs they do. I love McCluskey. I love the certain glimpses we're getting of his passing ability that's starting to come in. Similar to Aki, we're starting to see, okay, Stuart, go. You know what I mean? Do what you see out there. You're not a battering ram. We'll use that when we need to use it, but we want to see some passing and some footwork. That was starting to come in the last few games. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does. I always love seeing Robbie Henshaw on the pitch, regardless. Good at that the ring rose isn't in there, but we know that our starting important midfield is Ringrose and Henshaw. But then we've also got Aki, who's there ready to rock and roll. We've got McCluskey ready to rock and roll. They're both kind of 12s, with Crowley coming in and Byrne coming in as well. So it is a packed midfield. It's interesting to see how we're going to put them together. Who gets to go on the plane? Who gets to stay at home? Who goes on holidays to Euro Disney while the World Cup's on? But I really hope McCluskey really puts in a shift, because the opposition, they fancy their shot this week, I think. So it's good, and I do feel they're going to aim at seeing Henshaw in the 13 jersey instead of the 12, and McCluskey in there at 12, being the 12 with the pressure on. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do, but it's exciting stuff regardless.
Absolutely. Well, there's no question that having kind of dropped out of favor with the Irish selection over a couple of years. I mean, the past year or so, Stu is really, his stock has risen, and they seem to love him there in camp. And Farrell, he's a big part of his plans. So a good performance here will definitely see him a lot closer to the squad. Now, your second point is about those who might not make it.
Yeah. So a couple of players were kind of released, and coach has made sure to say they're nowhere near out of the picture. They're just out for this time being.
Leave the phone switched on.
100%, and as they're going to be in Euro Disney for the whole summer. But it's kind of like we had was it Prendergast and Stockdale were 2 of the big names, and it's a bit tough on both of them, I think, because Stockdale is coming back from the 2 massive seasons he had, blighted with injury, starting to come back. He's a big boy. He can do any of the back 3 positions. There were glimpses against Italy of the old Stockdale jumping up like a skyscraper, grabbing the ball out of the air. A couple of mistakes, but that happens. But he was starting to kind of feel himself again a wee bit. Prendergast again last week certainly was learning for the first 5 to 7 minutes. But after that, I think he did a great job. His problem is we've got a million back rowers. You know what I mean? And he doesn't have that versatility of, say, a Baird or a Doris, who, if they can go anywhere in the back 3, or they can do second row as well. So I think that's why they were kind of said, listen, lads, stay fit, stay healthy, stay happy, but you're not part of the plans for this week. But yeah, it's tough. And then kind of we have the Earl's question to talk about as well. That's another interesting call, because I think he's more than a player at the moment. But we can cover that later on. But it's going to be interesting to see what Stockdale and Prendergast are going to do over the summer, because injuries are going to happen, and the back row is massively attritional. It takes one to be knocked out, and we need to bring one of those boys back. So it'll be interesting to see.
Absolutely. And let's go into that third point. You want to talk a bit more about the man?
Listen, first off, every single human being in this country, regardless of what jersey we wear during the league season, we're beyond delighted for the guy. We've all seen him from day one, progressing so quickly. And then he's had this kind of thing going where, injury has happened. He pulled his groin there relatively recently, and he's back in looking good. And the speed is still there, but he's more than a winger and a midfielder, a possible. He's more than that in the team. And I think it's similar to other sports. The Ryder Cup needs a player like that who is more than actual nuts and bolts of the game. It is a center point of the team. And I think Earls is a kind of guy like that. And not that he can't perform. He's obviously performing at a high level, scoring a try last week, absolutely brilliant. But he's more than that. He's seen absolutely everything in the game. There are kids on the plane who, with the best will in the world, they're kids. They're going to be looking around for experience and all that sort of stuff, Earlsy will know what this looks like because he was that soldier, and I think he's going to be doing a job more than putting the boots on. I think he's going to be like an extra shoulder for these players, and that's why I would bring him. Again, it's always easy from the couch, but I think Earls should get on the plane. I think he's got a chance now against Samoa over the weekend on Saturday. Time has lost all meaning. He's got a chance now to cement the jersey, cement the tracksuit. I feel he should go anyway, but if he puts a shift in, I think he's there, and then that's why Stockdale was released. Excuse me, not sent away, released. I think they fancy a bit of Keith Earls on this trip, and so do I.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good that he starts this game, if for no other reason, just to prove, not that we had any doubt, to prove that we weren't just chucking him a couple of caps to get him to 100 and then getting on our way. I mean, you saw that how we could finish that try. That wasn't an easy finish by any means, and he shows he still has it, and he's definitely has a lot to contribute to the squad in every respect. And you can't put a price on the experience either. I mean, he was a bolter on the 2009 Lions team, so it goes way back. He's had a lot of success over his career, so it's good having that element in the squad as well. So so it'll definitely make a case. And like all throughout the team, there's some interesting calls. You've got the lad Stewart at hooker. Yep. We had good news on Sheehan during the week, but there's a lot of talk about Kelleher, whether he's able to make it or not. So there's been nothing. So but Stewart has shown himself really good as well as, and in these warm-ups as well as for Ulster last season. You got Henderson, captain in the team, and there's a strong back row there, and just names all over the park. Ringrose coming on for a little cameo at the end. It's all over the park. Some interesting calls, so we'll see how they get on. Okay, so we're going to move on to our opposition, which is Manu Samoa. So it's a pretty strong team. A lot of familiar names there. What did you make of it?
As we mentioned earlier on, I think they fancy it. I think they kind of might think that a lot of the guys feel that they need to stay safe, get on that plane. We kind of know at every level, if you don't commit, that's when you get hurt. So I don't think that's going to happen with these guys. But I do think they fancy it. I do think they fancy coming over. They do have experience. Our friend Al Alatoa, who's done a great job for Leinster. Trying times when he's been called in, but he's really stepped up, and he's a leader in that team. Now, to be totally honest, there's a lot of them I'm not aware of, and that's my issue. But Samoa are big boys. They're not there to mess around, and I do think they're going to fancy it. I do think they're actually going to go. They're going to go at our midfield. I think that's what they're going to do. Even though, kind of when you look at all the apps where they show the pictures of the squad members, some of the Samoa team don't have a team picture yet. That means they've got a free shot. You know what I mean? That means that it's all about proving for them. They still want to get moving, and so I think they're going to take aim at McCluskey and Henshaw. Henshaw at 13, McCluskey at 12. I think they're going to go for that. I think they fancy a shot at our hooker as well. But I think again, it's going to be a respectful but resounding victory.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what happened to Ireland last time they played in Bayonne before a World Cup. I think we're a little more set for this one, but it is an interesting team. I mean, for one thing, we do have a Pacific Island nation in our group, so or in our pool. So it's a way of sort of getting to know that that style of play as well. So there is a lot to be learned from this. And like you talked about Robbie Henshaw playing 13. I mean, he's going up against a familiar foe. UJ Satuni played for La Rochelle in the Champions Cup final and did really well. He was one of their stars. And you got Liam Sapawaga at 10, and of course Michael Alatoa, and of course more Irish interest, Christian Lilifano, their sub and out half played a bit for Ulster as well. So there's a lot of names there, and they can play well on their day, and they'll definitely give us a test. Hopefully not 2007 levels of a test, but sure, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Okay, listen, we're going to move on to the officials, and as you can see them all there. It's a kind of a multinational group there. Wayne Barnes is the ref, and just an extra point on the referees, he's also refereeing Ireland against Tonga as well. So the Pacific Island nation were playing in the World Cup. The names were released during the week. I might as well give them all now. Ireland against Romania is Nika Amashakuli. South Africa Ireland is Ben O'Keefe, and Ireland Scotland is Nick Berry. So they're the refs we'll be seeing at the World Cup. The weather for Bayonne on Saturday evening is cloudy with showers. There's going to be a bit of rain, around 70% rain. Warm enough for an evening kickoff at 18 degrees and not much wind to speak of. So that just moves us on to prediction. How do you see it going?
I think it'd be nice to get 30 points plus. Scored well. I do think it'll be kind of 20, 25 minutes of decent struggle, but I think there's gas in the Ireland team. I think there's a little bit more tactical nous, word of the day, toilet paper, which I think we'll start using earlier on in the game than we did last week. And I think, as we say, with lads still looking for their seat on the airplane, people like Earlsey, all these kind of guys, they're going to step up and really start quick. I think we need to go into big starts now. Like, start really big, start really strong. Don't allow the other team to take the first shot. And I think that's what we're going to do. I think it's 30 plus is what we're going to score.
Yep. 30 plus and no injuries, hopefully. That's the pray, because that team is going to be named everything, fingers, toes, eyes, everything crossed. And the squad actually is going to be named on the Monday. Right, we're going to leave it there again. We just like to wish the Leinster women all the best this weekend in the Interpros. They play our good friends Munster in Donnybrook, and they need a win to reach the final. So head on down if you can, or at least check it out on TG Car. Kickoff is 4:45 p.m. Keego, what's the next stand-up gigs on the calendar for you?
So as we sit today, on Sunday I'm in the International Bar, and then we start rolling out the gigs next week. So we're all over the place. Belfast, we're out to Cork, and we're out in Bray as well. So we're straddling the globe. KeegoLaughs.com for all of that. Apologies for the mental image.
No problem. And all those links as ever. Check out his podcast as well. Apologies up front. And it's all those links are in the program notes. Okay, well, many thanks to you all for tuning into our latest preview show. Enjoy the match wherever you are, and be sure to follow us on all the usual social media channels. We will, of course, have a wrap pod for you recording on Sunday evening. Hopefully, you'll help us out by liking, sharing, and subscribing. In the meantime, stay safe, everyone. Slán.